I still got you a little bit underwater, but hopefully my signal here is okay. Johnny, do you still got me?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we got you great. We got you great. So Johnny, I'm curious. While we're waiting for people to come file into the room, come hang out and join us on the spaces too. Um, how did you? What's your role with Tuttle Twins? How did you get involved? What's your start there?
Yeah, so I am a writer director, one of the co-founders of the Tuttle Twins show. So um, yeah, I was just kind of doing an ad agency thing. So I worked at Harmer Brothers. If you remember the pooping unicorn from the Squatty Potty ad or any of those like crazy internet ads, that was us. And we were, we got really good at selling weird things, and we were just wanting to sell something meaningful, I think, and also get into original content. And Tuttle Twins was a book series at the time written by our friend Connor Boyack, and we thought, if we can sell people on a Squatty Potty, why can't we sell people on freedom and some of these ideas that matter? And so we just kind of mocked up something, brought it to the crowd, and said, "What the heck? Let's see if people actually want to crowdfund this and make this." And yeah, we ended up breaking the world record for most crowdfunded kid show at the time. So it was very humbling and kind of a zigzag of a journey, but really cool to be a
That
part
is
of.
amazing. Yeah. Where was all like I can kind of intuitively for myself think about like particularly coming from libertarian values and not seeing anything like that represented in media, how I'd be so hungry for that product and why I love the show. And is that like largely where that was a kind of grassroots movement to kind of get the funding there?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, came from parents, and yeah, I mean, a lot of our audience is libertarian. A lot of it's conservative. A lot of it, they don't even define themselves. Thing that prepares my kids for the real world. So yeah, it's been really cool just to see the audience that comes out of the woodwork.
That is fantastic. And how much of the show content are we referring back to the original books then as well too? Is the original writer involved in the writing process as well?
Yeah, so Connor is brilliant, and I think they've written 15 kids books, and they're all based off of like the creature from Jekyll Island. Like there's one that breaks that down for kids and stuff like that. But with the show, we just move at such a quick pace that we have to create more and venture into different territory than the books can. And so, yeah, to date, I think we've covered every single book that Connor's written in the show in an episode of some kind. And then from there, we just asked parents, we're just like, what do you want your kids to learn? And then we listen to, people, just our audience, really. That's who we're beholden to. And that's what we use to figure out what we're going to do next. Sorry, I'm not hearing you. I don't know if anybody's talking.
I'm not sure if that was not coming through. Ed, can you hear me? Or Gary?
I can hear you now.
I can hear you now. Wasn't hearing anybody for a little while.
I apologize, just trying to pull Ben here up on stage as well too. Then I was kind of curious too, because you got the crowdfunding source there as well too. Was there just a lot of demand right off the hop, or was it still a little bit nerve wracking getting the show going, having that initial funding and getting things started?
Yeah, I'd say like when you're raising money from a crowd versus VCs, I don't know, it feels it feels painful if you flop because it's not some rich VC's money, it's mom and pops, And so yeah, it was humbling to see like the money coming in to start, but then yeah, the burden of okay, let's make this show outside of Hollywood. Let's make sure this succeeds. It's been a grind all the way, since we launched, but we're building a ton of momentum. We just surpassed 200 million views of the show, and we're talking to people who, yeah, we can't announce yet, but who are kind of household names to be in the show, which is really exciting and kind of cool to see. I think also the general audience, the world, the Overton window really is shifting, and the kind of stuff that people are concerned about now are stuff that they weren't even talking about, 2-3 years ago.
No, it's funny. We were talking in Spaces just the other day too about how we were referring specifically to the HBO special that came out. For some reason flagging Peter Todd. And how I don't think that it's those sort of elements that are really going to move the needle in terms of the next larger phases of adoption. I think it's things that are from the fictional world. It's the stories that we have that then integrate with Bitcoin and these kind of ideas that will really shift the Overton window where we need it to go. That'll kind of normalize it as just an element of everyday life and kind of using that art to change public perception. I'm curious if you guys have any sort of philosophy on that as well, or what you think about that.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Yeah, we're nobody wants to learn; they want to be entertained. And if entertainment teaches them, it can be world changing. So, yeah, I think that's our number one goal when we're making the show is like, hey, let's make it fun, and then let's put some fiber in there too, and teach them about Bitcoin or CBDCs, things like that. So.
And I imagine that in order to pull this kind of a project off in our current cultural climate, which is shifting, that probably most, if not everybody on the team is kind of values aligned.
Yeah, it's really hard to not be. And I mean, I wouldn't say we're all like a monolith or anything. We all come at it from different angles, and there are definitely people who, it's a political spectrum, right? But I think when you get down below the surface, we agree on so much more than we thought. When you get past the buzzwords and you kind of look under the hood, and you're like, oh yeah, maybe centrally planned economy and centrally planned this or that is actually a bad idea. And it's been amazing because our writers' room is full of right leaning, left leaning, libertarian, and yeah, we agree on so much more than the media would have us believe.
You'll have to expand on what it's like in the writers' room too. I'm kind of curious how you guys come up with it. But before you even touch on that, for anyone in the audience, if you want to come up and ask a question, you want to riff on something that we're talking about, we'd love to have you here. And I'll actually quickly pivot. I see we got Ben here on stage. Ben, yo, what's going on?
Hey guys, how's it going? Glad to have the legendary creators of Tuttle Twins. That's you, Jonny, right?
Yeah, me and Daniel, we made it into a show. Good to talk to you, Ben.
Yeah, man.
Wait a minute, man.
Good to chat with you as well. I want to say a huge thank you for letting me have a little part in this upcoming episode. So obviously that clip got leaked, but I showed it. So the number one thing that has made me so happy about this is I showed it to my daughter, and she is over the moon about it. She is losing her mind, playing the clip for everybody. She's like, my daddy's a cartoon. My daddy's a cartoon. And she's showing it to everybody. And even beyond that, and this is a bit more of a personal piece, but during the trucker protest, like as stuff was blowing up, I had to take a moment to, like, when I realized, like, oh my God, like this is going to be in the news and like my name might be thrown around place. So I was like, it's, like I've got a wide array of different political beliefs in my family. So I was like having to call my parents and, in-laws and stuff like that and be like, hey, just so you know, you may see like my name plastered around the news and you may hear some not favorable things. And I want to tell you about it in advance. And so like one of those calls was to my mom. And of course, she's luckily supportive no matter what, but I definitely think that she was a little, shocked and reserved about it. And like, oh God, like, is this kind of like, she accepted kind of my explanation of why I thought it was an important thing to be a part of. But the tone shift as she had my daughter say, Nanny, watch, Daddy's a cartoon, and like her watching the like musical number and like the joy on my daughter's face from seeing this, it completely framed it in an entirely different light for her. And I think it completely shifted her perception of kind of the whole ordeal of what went down. So I want to say huge thank you. I know that wasn't necessarily the intent, but I want to let you know that's a downstream effect of what you guys have put together.
Well, man, that's really humbling to hear, man. And you're thanking us for putting you in a cartoon. We're thanking you for putting your neck on the line, And I just think, like, I mean, one benefit of this show is it's an independent show and it's always very fluid. We're listening all the time. I remember I went to Pacific Bitcoin, I think it was last year. And I remember just talking to you, and I had no idea that you were the one who set up the Bitcoin wallets for the truckers. And it was just like, boom. Okay, we need that in the episode.
I remember that combo.
It was just such a thing. And that's amazing. I relate with the cartoon thing. Kids do not value any of your work until you are in a cartoon form. So anything we could do to help
fully confirm
make
that.
you cool.
I was not a cool dad until animated.
That's right.
Awesome. I can see we've also got Yellow here up on stage. Yellow, how you doing?
Better. How are you?
I am doing well, my friend. I'm thoroughly enjoying this conversation, and again, just hanging out. And now we've got kind of two cartoon characters hanging up here.
How about that Bitcoin thing, right?
Oh God. So Jonny, even on that note too, like, as a fellow Canadian here, I really, really appreciate you guys putting the trucker content up there as well too, and the depiction of both Trudeau. Now, was it intentional? Trudeau looked a little bit Cuban to me.
Okay, we were divided in the writer and directors. In the script, we had a portrait on the wall behind him that said "Love, Daddy." And it was a picture of Fidel Castro. It didn't make it in because some of the directors thought, come on, guys, they're going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. But you're not wrong.
That's incredible.
Oh, that would have been beautiful. You should have kept that in.
We'll have to leak the writer's cut.
Awesome. And then also including the Jamie Dimon pet rocks. That was just absolute gold. Whose idea was that one?
That was mine. I probably had too much fun. We'll see what happens legally after this, but so Corinne, she's kind of our antagonist in the show, a playful antagonist if you watch Tuttle Twins, but she just throughout the episode, which is coming out in less than a week, it'll come out next Thursday, and we're actually releasing it everywhere without a paywall, so it's going to be every social media platform. But throughout the episode, she quotes her Uncle Jamie a lot. And every quote is a direct quote from Jamie Dimon. So it's a really fun, way to just, use Jamie Dimon's words in all their glory.
Can I do a technical question?
Yes, go for it, Yellow. Of course you can.
Like, what kind of programs or what do you use to make those shows of yours?
Yeah. Oh gosh, it is slipping my mind. It is called Toon Boom. Toon Boom's what we used to animate. So yeah, basically, like with our show, think of each character as like a puppet, and then animators will go in to animate their arms, legs, mouths, facial expressions and things like that. So yeah, but we have
I don't know if Yellow can understand the concept of a puppet.
Yeah, I don't know nothing about puppets.
It's a little harder than multi-sig. So
so it's like you create a model, and there's like something like a keyframe function that it moves the hands and the everything.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. And I think it'll only
That's
get
cool.
easier, with AI as things start to develop.
How do you call it again?
Sorry, what was that?
What was the name again?
Toon Boom.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
I'm kind of curious too then, like with AI coming into play and the tools that you're using, how long is it from kind of concept to the show being done and animated?
Yeah. So for our show right now, AI hasn't really helped yet. But yeah, it's about 9 months. So it's about the same time as a human child.
Yep, I know all about that right now.
Is it more painful? Who's to say? I'm just kidding. Please don't hurt me.
Every wife in the audience just
please don't hurt me.
face.
It was a joke. I'm a comedian. No, it's definitely less painful. I have 3 kids, so
You're a comedian, huh? Is it you're a comedian?
Yeah, don't hurt me. But yeah, so 9 months, and I mean, we probably spend more time researching and writing than some other shows, but yeah, but it's a long time.
Wow, that's it. That's quite impressive. Shooter, I see you joined us on stage. Did you have a question or a comment or something you want to throw out there?
Yeah. What's up, guys? Maybe you mentioned this, but you mentioned like some of the topics, that people weren't even talking about before. And I think Bitcoin kind of had a bad rap, like maybe if you mentioned Bitcoin, you might lose people. And I wonder if you feel like that's turning. Do you feel like, when you have an episode that features Bitcoin, people are actually interested, or do you think people are still, kind of scared and run away from that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when we were first debating to do a Bitcoin episode, a lot of us were Bitcoiners, but yeah, we didn't know how much of our audience would go along for the ride. We'd done an episode on the inflation monster, and it had done really well. So like we knew our audience would be down with the money's broken, but are they going to be down with maybe Bitcoin's the solution? And we put it out, and we did get some pushback, but overwhelmingly, people were in favor of at least, I need to understand Bitcoin. Okay, I can agree with 80% of what you're saying. And it ended up getting 40 million views with the episode. So it was just one of those things where it's like, oh my gosh, there's so much more demand here of people who are kind of silently watching from the sidelines. And what we found was, kids were learning about Bitcoin. Kids were asking their parents to be paid in Bitcoin for their allowance. And we had some parents who were like, I don't even know how to use Bitcoin, and my kids are asking for this, right? It's very much a bottom-up thing. And then we had like adults like sharing it with their significant other. Like this one guy said, my wife, I've been trying to explain this to her for years, and you guys did it in 20 minutes. And so there is something about a cartoon, especially for kids, where if you can break it down for kids, adults can learn it too. So it's the side effect. So we're definitely seeing that change and shift, and we're always listening to our audience. So if they feel tapped out by Bitcoin content, we'll give it a little bit of a rest. But if they keep asking for it, we'll keep serving them.
Nice. And before we go on to Ben real quick, if you don't mind, I'm releasing a film of my own about inflation and Bitcoin. And so I'll reach out to you guys. Maybe we can figure out a way to work in some of your cartoons into the show. Because I agree with you, like most adults don't understand anything about finance, and they need it to be explained in this way. Like I showed my girlfriend the clip from the most recent one, the government says that, terrorists, but what if they say the terrorist is you? And you should see her face, man. She's like, yeah, I totally get it. Anyway, we'll have to reach out because it would be nice to work in some of your guys' magic into the film.
Happy to chat. Yeah, totally.
Even just quick side note before throwing it to Ben here as well too. I have shown the most recent clip to my wife at least 2 or 3 times, as well as the other episodes, and my kids on repeat. I don't know why, but it's the perfect fun medium to be like just check this out. Like I know it's made for kids. I almost feel like it's almost like Nintendo games, where sometimes they're targeting kids, but really the adult audience is just absolutely loving it. Like, I love this stuff. Ben, anyway, you.
Yeah. So, Jonny, I wanted to ask, you did the first Bitcoin episode, and now this is kind of like a sequel to that, like tagging on more information, I suppose. What topics do you feel were missed in the first episode that you're trying to attack in this episode? And I guess further to that, is there anything that you felt that you just didn't get enough time in the episode to cover for this kind of sequel Bitcoin episode?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, so the first episode, we always try and like sum up each episode in a little rhyme, like a little couplet kids can remember. And ironically, that's the only thing we remember when we're trying to remember our episodes. But the first one was when money's easy to make, society begins to break. So just kind of talking about the ease of creating money and how the downstream effects of that are. And I mean, this one, it's kind of summed up in that song, when money's controlled, money's corrupted. We wanted to basically, I mean, we're essentially trying to make the Bitcoin standard into a cartoon. And that book is like full of stuff. And when we read it, our minds were blown, right? But yeah, there's so much in there. And so I think if the audience loves it, we do at least one more. And that would be on the time preference of money and sort of the cascading effects of time preference. And I think that deserves its own episode too. So yeah, those are kind of the three things. And then, I mean, the more we go through this, the more everyone's feeling the sting of inflation, and we just weave it in throughout pretty much every other episode. So we'll have tidbits here and there, but that's kind of the plan right now.
I love that. I think, again, the idea of time preference is one that was highlighted to me through coming to Bitcoin and reading the Bitcoin standard and kind of going from there. But it's really hard to quantify the downstream effects of a medium of exchange that perpetually steals from you and incentivizes you to structure your life in certain ways around it. Like I can't imagine the amount of not only blood, sweat, and tears that have been stolen from people throughout the history of fiat currency, but like also in the form of misallocation of capital and what could have been built with proper incentives.
Yeah, probably impossible to quantify.
Yeah.
It's like everything. That's the number. Everything.
Everything. I'm curious, Jonny, if there's anyone from either Bitcoin or corrupt fiat land that hasn't made it into an episode yet that you want to make it into an episode.
Okay. Bitcoin and
Peter
corrupt
Todd.
fiat.
Maybe Peter Todd now.
You can't get Satoshi.
Is going to be his own episode. I mean, we're talking to some people we can't announce yet. But yeah, we may have something to announce soon. So corrupt fiat land. I really want to have a Keynes episode where
do it.
Show what kind of a dirtbag he is. Like, I think it might be in that time preference of money episode where it's like, surely someone who is so impulsive, like look what he created. He created a monetary system that favors impulsivity. And a side note, I asked ChatGTP if Keynes was a pedophile. And then I asked Venice AI, and Venice said he was, and ChatGTP said he wasn't. But
of course,
it might be hard to incorporate this into a children's show.
I mean, stop before I get ahead. But if we might have a dig at Grandma saying, "I thought you couldn't be 50 feet from a playground," and then putting him in a protective bubble. but it may be too much, Yeah, like you said, Ben, it may be too much. So, but yeah, I think that would be really. I mean, he's just held on such a pedestal by universities, by everyone who is feeding off the money printer, and just exposing Keynes and his ideas for what they were. I think would be really fun.
But before we move on, I have to ask one quick question here. Sorry, just because you just did the grandma voice. How many of the voices are you?
Dude, I'm just one. I just can mimic the grandma voice because I lay down scratch sometimes.
I don't know. You know how like the South Park guys will do like voice modulators and stuff. Yeah, that was pretty.
Well,
solid.
you know, you guys got to
Thanks,
do a
man.
documentary like South Park did. They have that one's called like 6 Days to Air, where it's like a behind the scenes of the writer's room and the recording studio. Because that'll answer all. If you haven't seen that yet, you should definitely watch it. It's phenomenal. And if you guys are ever interested in doing it and you need someone to actually do it, I'd definitely be interested in that.
Sweet. Yeah, I'll check it out. That sounds awesome. I've heard so much about their process. Yeah, it's unreal.
You know, it's funny too, even mentioning South Park. And I wonder if you guys even get a sense of this, or maybe it's just me, or it's like too grandiose, but the power of cartoons in terms of the cultural moment is unstoppable. Like even thinking back to my childhood, like how much of a cultural phenomenon The Simpsons was when it was still good in those early seasons. And then South Park as well too. I mean, even for me on my libertarian journey, it actually started from South Park. I was just a big fan of Matt and Trey and everything that they put out. And I was trying to think it was the Muhammad episodes, but was the atheist episodes. But it was talking about how it was this idea of you can make fun of everything or nothing. It has to be essentially universal. And it was this cartoon. Thank you. It was this idea, this little nugget, this one line that came out of a cartoon that ended up completely shaping my adulthood, my moral frame, my values, everything. That was the start for me in this kind of universal libertarianism and the importance of free speech and going down that rabbit hole. So one, Jonny, I think what you're doing is just absolutely amazing. And I suspect will have that same sort of effect. And I'm just curious what you guys think about that.
Yeah, we just make it in a closet. So we're not thinking that far ahead. But I mean, yeah, it is true. Like the vector that you can transmit ideas. We are full on very transparent. We are spreading ideas, and here's the ideas. And if you believe in these ideas and you want your kids to, great. You know, we don't claim to not be spreading, propagandizing ideas of some kind. The difference between us and the mainstream entertainment is they don't have a label on the package, and they they sneak it in, right? So, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, we're just kind of taking it one day at a time, creating in our closet, and if it inspires people, great, and we'll listen to that and try and amplify it more.
Well, just even the formatting too, right? There's so much more you can get away with in a cartoon that you can't do with live action media forms, that it really makes it powerful in terms of being able to use satire to really convey the point, or even like make an argument from ad absurdum, right? Like I'm thinking even right now to like, you were never going to get Jamie Dimon to fucking come in and shoot a scene, but we can, and if you did, I mean, I'd want to know what Epstein tapes you had on him. But like in cartoon, we can bring anybody, even those like Kane's back from the dead, and skewer them necessarily the way that they ultimately should. Ben, I'm curious if you have any thoughts on that.
Sorry, I couldn't find the unmute button there. Maybe I'll make a tutorial on that. But
Canadians.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, I had clipped away because I had pulled my headphones. Can you just reiterate what you just?
You know what I'll do? I'll pass it to Gary, because Gary's on stage, and I'll reiterate at the same time too, and then Ed might jump in. But Gary, being the resident actor amongst us, is talking about the ability to convey things in cartoon and even particularly satire for getting important ideas across.
Well, yeah, I mean, anytime you can use humor or satire, kind of brings down people's defenses. They're not thinking anymore like, oh, I have to make sure I oppose and get all my arguments straight while this idiot in front of me is talking. Have a laugh, and you're willing to consider other ideas. And if you can do it in a cartoon, it's cheaper and cheaper every day. So, congrats to the Tuttle Twins for getting it done. It looks great. My kid has all 12 books. I got them for her maybe a year and a half ago. She didn't want to read them for like, I don't know, a full 13, 14 months. And maybe about a month ago, I found her reading all 12 at night. So, guys, you're doing a great job. Thank you so much. And you make being a dad a bit easier.
Awesome. Thank you, Gary. Ed, I say you got your hand up.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
We can. Go for it.
Okay, great. I couldn't hear anything Gary said. My connection's a little wacky, but I did want to just respond to what you were saying before. that, I think like art especially, and I mean comedy in this particular case, is just a really great way of conveying truth to people, and especially comedy, because you're just able to just be honest and make people laugh, put them off, off their guard, get them a little less defensive. They can laugh, they can like enjoy themselves, and maybe even laugh at themselves a little bit. And I think that that is important because it allows people to relook things that they once held as their own worldview or their own thoughts, and make them rethink through laughter, just by questioning it and getting a joke out about it. But I mean, art in general, I think just like you guys with the cartoon aspect of it, you're able to draw everything, and you're able, like Nathan was saying, you're able to create situations where historical people are interacting with modern day people and just have these really unique experiences and scenarios play out. And I think that that's like really awesome. So I'm actually kind of curious what you guys are planning on doing. If you want to share maybe a little teaser of like some future episode ideas that you might be planning out.
Yeah, happy to. Yeah, first of all, echo everything you guys are saying. Yeah, it is such a fun playground to kind of let people's ideas stand on their own, whether they're living or dead, and then people can really judge them for what they're worth. But yeah, let's see. So for season 3, we're midway through. We release like basically an episode or 2 every month, and yeah, we have a military industrial complex episode coming up. So that'll be fun for kids. And then let's see, we have an episode.
I can't wait to see how Karen is involved in the military industrial complex.
Oh, buddy, it was a game of Twister trying to represent that in a way that was safe for kids. But yeah, we distilled it down to a meatball cafeteria fight. So there's like, yeah, it's all on kids levels. But yeah, needless to say, the grocery suppliers are doing well at the cafeteria. So yeah, so we have that coming up. We have an episode on failing and kind of embracing failure with the Wright brothers. I think we'll have like a little SpaceX mention in there. Yeah, we have one on personal responsibility. We have one on judging others by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. So just kind of helping kids feel valued based on their character and not how they look. So I think that's really important. We heard strongly from our audience about that. Yeah, and then yeah, other episodes I'm really excited about, the overpopulation myth, and it's kind of playing at, on the surface it looks like people should stop having kids. Everything's getting more expensive. In reality, we are getting stolen from through inflation. But like with every kid, you can scientifically see like the world gets more innovative. Your kid could be a Satoshi, right? Your kid could be an Elon Musk. And so I think that idea and letting kids know like, hey, we're grateful you're alive. None of this anti-humanist like crap, right? Like you should be thanking the woman who has 7 kids for all the wealth that they'll bring to your family. So yeah, really excited about some of those ideas.
No, that all sounds fantastic and amazing. And even to that last point as well, too, like the antinatalist culture that we have. I'm not sure how old you are, Jonny, but I'm 35, and so many of my peers just have a laundry list of excuses to not have kids. And it's like you have no idea what you're missing out on, and also what you're potentially depriving the world of. Like it's, in my opinion, one of the most important things that we all should do. Like, I'm grateful to be here. I want to make sure that I pay that forward. And then, of course, you got to get in there early and make sure that we propagandize them with the Tuttle Twins to get that libertarian ideas just implanted, so that there's no risk of some commie coming around later and trying to, ruin what I've created. Yellow, you've been relatively quiet, and then we'll go to Gary.
Yeah, the only thing I have to add is like, do you guys know the ladder phenomenon? Where you get a ladder and you're able to get whatever you can, like you get in concerts without a ticket, and you get in the cinema if you have a ladder. You know that thing?
Yes, I believe I know what you're referring to.
So basically, that phenomenon is funny. Is humor. Like, if you have humor, you can pretty much have the freedom to have access to fiat establishments and places where you shouldn't have been able to get. So because they're square, so that's humor for me, and that's being the Joker.
That's it's actually a good point, I guess. In terms of delivering the truth and getting into places you maybe wouldn't normally, humor is the equivalent of a ladder, a high-vis vest, and a hard hat and clipboard. Gary, I see you've got your hand up there.
Yeah, I mean, echoing what you were saying about propagandizing our kids, I know you were joking about that, at least partially. I loved hearing all of Jonny's ideas about future episodes for, judging by the content of your character, not the color of your skin, military-industrial complex. I mean, all this sounds great. I don't know if you guys have ever done one yet, and maybe I just missed it, about thinking for yourself. Because as I mentioned, I have a daughter. She's 8 years old. I have a son who will be turning 6 this month. And if there's one thing that I could leave them with before I leave this world is that I want them to think for themselves. And just because somebody at school says something, or just because they saw somebody in a suit and tie on TV say something, or even just because I'm saying something, I don't want them to take it at face value. I mean, I have my politics. I'm kind of a libertarian, but I want them to question everything, including me. Independent thought is very important to me. So I don't know if you guys have thought about ever doing something like that, or if you have, but I think that'd be fun.
Yeah, we thought about it, and we just did it. So yeah, I'll I could send a link. I'll post it on our page. But Cracking Conspiracies is the episode, and it's just sort of like, yeah, the rhyme from that one is like, question all you hear, critical thinking makes it clear. So we just kind of, heard from parents just like you, like, how do we get my kid to question things? We even say in the episode, even question this episode. So but yeah, just, I mean, not trying to instill a general distrust in kids, but just do the work and look for primary sources and dig deeper. And so that, but we'll definitely hit it harder in future episodes as well.
It's funny, Gary, I'm surprised that you're not going to leave your kids some Bitcoin there as well too, but hey, I guess we got to do what we got to do.
No. They're getting everything, at least whatever doesn't fall off the speedboat in the accident, they will be getting, I promise you.
Good. Bitcoin for president. I saw you hanging out here. Did you have a comment or a question, my friend?
Not really. Just checking it out, saying hello. I always get messed up on the conversation because there's like a 15-second lag when you become a speaker. So I had something to say back there, and now I lost it. No worries, though. Just enjoying the space.
If it comes back to you, let us know. Put your hand up, and we'll run over to you. Shooter, you've been relatively quiet. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, speaking from the perspective of somebody who does live action stuff, I think it's a double-edged sword with the cartoons. I mean, like, you can have a crazy idea and crazy scenarios, and it doesn't necessarily expand the budget, right? Like, if I was trying to film something with something crazy, it might be really expensive. And so I think that's a benefit. But then also, you have more creative freedom, and sometimes more creative freedom makes it more difficult to be creative. Like, I find I'm most creative under constraints. But I guess for you guys, since you're serving it to children, that's a pretty tight constraint. So anyways, I just wanted to mention that. I always thought about that about cartoons, like how cool to have that freedom to, to be able to kind of paint any scene you want. But then at the same time, how scary to have all that freedom and then to actually, like, how do you get, how are you creative when you have infinite amount of options? You know what I mean?
No, that's a great point. I mean, and we are the ones who think we have so many options, and then our producer team, they always reel us back in and say, actually, those 100 backgrounds you wanted to do, let's dial that down to 30 or something like that. So there are, it's not quite like, the more crazy stuff you do, the more expensive it is, whether it's animation or, or otherwise. But I mean, animation, you can go to space, you can go to alien planets, right? And it's relatively much cheaper. So yeah. And like you said, definitely we're always running our episodes by the audience. And they're a great constraint, and we're running it by brain trusts, and we have to fit within a budget. So yeah, I totally agree. Creativity loves constraint, and yeah, we have enough of them, I think.
Jonny, I'm wondering, is there anything that you guys wanted to do that maybe didn't make it in yet, or anything that was kind of left on the cutting room floor that maybe you'd want to go back and revisit, or topics that you just can't find the time to cover?
Yeah, I mean, we've been thinking a lot about the medical industrial complex, the food industrial complex. So how we approach that, I think, will be really, TBD.
A little tricky.
A little tricky, right? You want people to feel like, yeah, they have control in their lives, and it to be, at least critical thinking, right? And everyone has their own choices. I think at one time we had tossed around the idea of, oh, should we do an episode on prohibition and, visit Al Capone and just show.
Yeah.
But then we're like, wait, this is a kid's show, and that could be bad. Right? I mean, there are some of these concepts where it's like, yeah, there's no way. I mean, we could try and represent it as sugar on the playground, but no. I mean, there's just like some things you just have to stay away from, and just just save it for another time.
It's funny. I'm kind of reminded before we go to Ben too here, just from going back to the movie The Matrix, when they're waking up Neo and they talk about how it's they never usually bring somebody out who's already at that age. And I'm wondering if you get that kind of freedom with kids as well too, where you can kind of run a lot at them quickly and they're going to be fine accepting it. It's not going to threaten their identity or their worldview, just kind of starting from an earlier place. Ben, your thoughts?
Yeah, so I was just gonna say on the food industrial complex and all of that. If you get the chance, if you haven't already read it, the Mentor Spaces had Matthew
Lazak.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to say that. Is that how you say it, Lysiak?
I may have said it wrong. I've only read it.
Yeah. Anyways, what a book to read, because he basically read the fiat standard from Saifedean. And then he got to the food chapter and thought that was the only part where he was like, oh, that seems like pretty nutty. There's no way that that's true. I'm going to fact check it. And the guy's an investigative journalist of 20 years. And so he went and started fact checking it and found that Saifedean had understated how compromised the food system in the US is. So anyways, that could probably give you a few pretty good tidbits if you go down that road.
It's Fiat Food, right? That's the book?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yep, that's the one.
Awesome. Put it on my list. Yeah, I think I heard a podcast with him recently, but yeah, I think it's worth diving into.
I would say, and funny enough too, because you're talking about the medical industrial complex. I'm fairly certain from our conversation that that's the next book he's working on as well too. So you might get some related content down the road there.
Amazing. I think if we do that one, it will have a big screen at the beginning that says "Not sponsored by Pfizer." It will be a fun time.
Oh, I hope you put the "not sponsored by Boeing" in the military industrial one.
We should.
See we got
great recommendations. Thanks, man.
We've got Ed's got his hand up, and then we'll go to Bitcoin for a presence. Ed, go ahead.
Yeah, so one of the question Nathan asked earlier kind of got me thinking. I know a lot of times with like live action movies and of those, like you'll see bloopers at the end of like the movie, and it's kind of funny to see like what didn't make it to the cut, and like maybe just even ideas that like didn't show up. And I know you guys were kind of touching on that just now, but one of the things I always found funny as a kid, and even I appreciated as an adult, was if you've watched, and with my kid I've watched them, the Toy Story movies, they have like the bloopers at the end, but they're cartoon. So it's like, it's obviously, a blooper for a cartoon. It's like they had to create it after the fact. They're doing it to be funny. They were making the reference there. But I'm kind of curious, like some of the bloopers that maybe like you had an idea that made it to the cut and you had it there, but then you left out a scene that maybe was kind of funny, and some just funny to share with us, and maybe ideas that you have on the back burner that you're like, oh, I know you mentioned the prohibition one, but maybe other stuff that is just interesting to hear from you.
Yeah. It's funny you should say that. I think we're just now compiling all of the jokes on the cutting room floor. I mean, we have so many deleted scenes, with each episode, and so compound that over a couple seasons. And I'm trying to think. Oh boy. Sometimes we'll recycle it. Like if it gets cut from an episode, we'll put it into a future episode. So I hesitate to mention too many of them because you might see some. But then on the flip side, we also have sometimes the guests get a little raunchy or a little edgy. We recorded with Peter McCormick for this episode, just a cameo. And I think he broke the record of how many F words you can say.
Oh, yeah.
And we were like, Peter, this is a kid's show. And he's like, oh, it's a kid's show. So he learned, but it was so funny. So we always joke about releasing a director's cut or something but yeah, that would be off brand. That's what they tell me. That would not be funny, good for a kid's show. So anyways, yeah.
Like an after party adult version of the episode.
Not good. But I mean, we have the material if anyone were to hack us. So yep.
Quickly, before we go to Bitcoin for Presidents here too, is there anyone else that maybe we haven't heard in the trailers? Are there any more cameos or sneak guests we should watch for?
Let's see. So Natalie Brunell, Peter McCormick. Let's see. We have the Max Kaiser, Stacey Herbert. And yeah, I mean, a lot of obviously Ben. A lot of the a lot of it in this episode is really just cameos. We had so much to cover that we just had to sort of get in and out. We do have Safe. He is protesting seed oils in the episode, which we thought was funny. He was one of the only people to write us complaining about, you guys have way too much emphasis on gummy bears and sugar, and so we kind of give him a little playful jab in the episode. But I don't know. Yeah, so I honestly though, if we were to do an episode on time preference, I think we get Safe for the full episode and pit him against Keynes. So I think he would love nothing more. So,
I 100% need to see that. Bitcoin for Presidents. You've had your hand up for a while, buddy. What's on your mind?
Oh, nothing much. I wanted to tell Ben BTC Sessions that book is excellent. So the Fiat Foodie I heard him on Why Are We Bullish? And I heard TC talking about it before. And when you hear about a book more than 3 times, it just makes you want to pick it up. So I finally bought it, and I couldn't stop reading it. I usually read 7 books at a time. So I have whatever one wins the race, and that one blew me away. I liked it so much, I sent it to my brother for his birthday just recently. So just wanted to reiterate what he said and tell him thank you. But on another note, I seen a CrossFitter in here. He's not on here anymore, but I was wondering when someone's going to open up that Bitcoin gym, maybe a CrossFit one or something like that. I'd like to see that happen one day.
I think Mr. Ben Sessions here has already got a personal trainer that's accepting Bitcoin. So at least there's a few of them popping up locally. That's correct. Yeah, Ben?
Yeah. There's a guy, actually, funny enough, he was training Madex for a while, but then Madex destroyed his ankle, foot, skiing or snowboarding or something. But so that guy's been kicking my ass a couple times a week at least, and I pay him in sats, and he helps me be low time preference with my health. So I mean, I feel like it's a pretty good trade-off.
I have a question.
Okay, fine. Go ahead, Yellow.
Do you have recurring villains in the show?
We brought in Karl Marx into season 2, and we so he kind of is a bit of a recurring villain. We just
whenever you use him again, can you add the 58K sticker somewhere on him?
I'll bring this up. He was probably really into, Ethereum too back in the day.
Yeah, I think he's in the stable prices, right? Like,
right.
Yeah.
a big fan of 58K.
They're commies, man. 50K commies. They're commies. Like they're saying stuff like Bitcoin is for everyone and every time. Like they want to make Bitcoin a stable coin. Like they're commies.
You can't argue with that logic. It is definitely on point. I think Yellow does have a solid idea there. Kind of jumping back to the idea of fiat food too, just something that I've seen, and if you do work it into an episode, I think it would be something fantastic, is that at least as of late, and I think it's just because general population, or at least people around me, people are really struggling with their health. And in terms of like sneaking these ideas in, either like Bitcoin or just kind of libertarian philosophy, I found that Fiat Food, the book, and the concepts behind it have actually been really well received by normie commercial media consuming people.
That's great to hear. Yeah, that's awesome. There does seem to be just all around RFK and Casey Cali means this, like, make America healthy again, right? And just this focus on all of the chemicals and things that are killing us. So yeah, I'll definitely read it. Thank you guys for the recommendation.
You are more than welcome. We are getting a little bit close to the top of the hour. So again, if anybody wants to come up and ask a question or try to make a case why 58K gang is right and piss off Yellow, that's fine as well too. Ed, I'll throw it to you for a second. Anything on your mind here, buddy?
What?
You're a little bit underwater, Ed. It's not quite coming through. No worries, pal. No worries. Shooter, anything else that you want to add here, or any questions or comments, my friend?
No, I just think it's great what these guys are doing. I mean, I think it's a great way to test, like they're saying, how people are feeling out there. And so I think it's perfect timing. People are questioning all kinds of, credentialed people, doctors, people in suits and stuff like that. So I think the world is ready for it. And yeah, maybe in the future it'll be like an R-rated version, right? Like Tuttle Twins will be like a South Park version. And you guys can rehash some of these episodes and really go wild, because it seems like you guys are like a tiger, and you're turning yourselves into kitty cats for the kids, which, don't get me wrong, it's awesome. But some of these ideas and some of the things you're saying, I'm like, holy shit, these things actually come up in the writing room. That's incredible, man.
Well, and to be fair, you think from this conversation that everything goes over the line, but I think if you go into any writer's room, I'm a firm believer in, you have to kind of cross the line to know where it is. And then we always find the line. Everyone tells us where the line is, internally, externally. And it's just, listening to the audience. I think that's where you get in trouble with Hollywood, is when they don't listen to their audience and they're just centrally planning nonsense with a small group of people, trying to shove what they think is what everyone else wants down their throat, right? And we just try and really kind of let the market speak for itself and let our customers and audience tell us. So and then I would say too, like some ideas, yes, probably not appropriate for a kid's audience, but I do think, like, when you make something family friendly, it has the most legs. Like, it can go much further than something that goes edgier, just by nature of being able to be spread everywhere.
No, I agree. And kind of actually to Shooter's question there as well too. 9 months to make this is a long time. So probably not, but I'm curious if there's any other ideas for different projects that you guys might be thinking about for maybe down the line.
We have some like one-off ideas here and there. I don't think anything we're ready to announce yet. Just kind of trying to focus on making Tuttle Twins as good as it can be. But yeah, I think we will probably, if any of them come to fruition, we'll announce them for sure.
Very cool. And it's probably outside my budget, but how many sats would I have to send you in order to get a fully animated Ben tutorial video featuring the Tuttle Twins?
Man. I'll just send that to our production team. I'm terrible with numbers, but it depends on how many tricks does he do?
Yeah,
you know,
backflip in between each keystroke and all kinds of amazing things. Yeah, and also I feel like that may break your production budget if you go to perhaps animate a Lord of the Rings length tutorial that I'm infamous for. So that might be the one. It might have to be a reel or something, like a YouTube short.
I can just imagine the Tuttle Twins just like sitting in the room, just slowly getting bored to tears, watching Ben go through everything involved with setting up a cold card queue.
We'd make it entertaining. We would add the magic of Tuttle Twins to it. So
Oh, that's fantastic. That's awesome. So just quickly before we get to the end of the space here too, Jonny, I'm curious if there's anything specific to Bitcoin that currently has your attention yet, something that you like, something that you're excited about. Is there anything on your radar there?
Are you asking why he's bullish?
Oh yeah, let's do that. Why are you bullish? Haha, I've done it.
Man,
not again.
I'm bullish because we're coming out with this episode. And I just think the climate, everyone, like inflation was on nobody's radar. Like nobody knew what it was like 4 years ago, right? Everyone knows what it is. And we're feeling the need for Bitcoin, and it's consolidating. It's going to rip. Yeah, it's just such an exciting time to be here. And yeah, I guess that's why I'm bullish. Like all of us are riding this wave. And I mean, I was just going through the comments today of the clip with Ben and the trucker protest, and I found that hilarious exchange between Ben and this kid who is asking Ben to go Google what happened with the trucker protest to learn why the Bitcoin was confiscated. And it's just like these little micro conversations that I'm seeing every day of people opening up to, being receptive to Bitcoin and being receptive to the idea that our money is rigged. And so, that makes me incredibly hopeful for the future.
To be fair,
and even just quick,
I do not know
go ahead, Ben.
Google. I don't know how to Google.
For the record.
Just for the record there. And just even a little end to that as well too. I really, really appreciate you guys including the trucker protest in this episode as well too. Because one of the things that I find here in Canada just absolutely infuriating is how quickly even people that were upset at the time have seemingly forgot about it. Like the fact that we're jumping back there and getting that constant little reminder and this beautiful clip and song that we can share, I think is particularly powerful.
Yeah, it's something I love about the Bitcoin community. I feel like we latch on to use cases and things in the moment, like stories, and then we repeat them over and over, and then they get cemented into the zeitgeist, right? And so, just something. It was very powerful for me to learn about it and the ins and outs. And yeah, I think let's get millions of views on it and cement it even more.
Completely agree. Jonny, I do want to be respectful of your time. Where can people go to learn more about Tuttle Twins, the stuff that you're doing, check out the episodes, and when again is it going to drop?
Yeah, so the episode will drop on October 17th. We're launching it at LA Bitcoin Day with Swan. And so it'll be on X, it'll be on YouTube, everywhere. Feel free to share it, watch it. It's a fun 22 minutes. And then if you love what you see and you love Tuttle Twins, you can actually watch the first 2 seasons for free. Go to angel.com/TuttleTwins. And then if you want to see the 3rd season and want to help support the show and help us make season 4 and season 5, you can subscribe to the Angel Guild. So it's just an app called Angel Studios. Michael Saylor owned it at one point, which is really funny, angel.com. So you can just subscribe, and then you get a vote on the content that's being made, and then you get to see the latest seasons of shows, including Tuttle Twins. So
That's awesome, Jonny. Thank you so much. For everyone in the audience, make sure that you're following Jonny. Follow everybody up here. Shooter, Yellow, Bitcoin Presence. We've also got Ed behind the Live Free BTC, Gary, Ben, and myself. We're with Bitcoin Mentor. If you need help with Bitcoin, maybe you just want to get the cold card set up, maybe you're looking at doing a multi-sig or setting up your own node, feel free to reach out to us. You can find us at bitcoinmentor.io. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and end the space. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming here. And Jonny, thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Take care, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks for coming, Jonny. We appreciate it.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Peace.